Thank you for joining me today. My name is Joshua Dyer, and I'm a media missionary with New International. Today, we have a special treat. We have an entire family that we're going to be interviewing pretty soon. Have you ever wondered what it's like to be a missionary kid and their experiences and how it's different from, living in America or something like that? Well, today's show, we're going to hear from the Russell family and the kids. They're going to share what life is like in the Philippines and their impact on the Adi people. Plus, my kids will be interviewing their kids, and their kids are going to share us some really cool stories about raising a goat in a bathroom and living through a typhoon on Christmas Day. You're not going to want to miss it. So we are here with the Russell family, and they're going to just do a brief introduction about who they are as a family and what they do in the Philippines. Russells, how are you guys? It's good to see you guys.
It's good to see you.
All right,
Kristen.
Here.
I'm Kristen. This is my husband, Rusty. And these are our four youngest of our 10 children. We have John, who's 16, Luke, who's 14, Mark, who's 12, and Matthew, who's 9. And we're here broadcasting to you today from Florida.
So you guys are in Florida. Why aren't you guys in the Philippines? Is this a COVID-related thing?
It is.
Okay.
We had our first grandbaby. As I mentioned, we have 10 kids. Our oldest 3 are married, and the oldest had his first child back in February. And I made a trip home in March to visit the grandbaby and be grandma. And within 7 days of my leaving the Philippines, the border was closed.
Wow.
So I wasn't able to get back. And of course, we're still in a period of indefinitely on border closures. And so the family was able to get a sweeper flight, an evacuation flight out the end of March and joined us here in Florida. So we're here stateside because of COVID-19.
Wow. So you guys are all together as a family. What do you guys do in the Philippines? You guys like living side by side with the neighbors there, or what do you? Are you just kind of temporary housing, or you're committed, aren't you guys?
We are. We live just about a mile away from. We work with the tribal group, the Ati people there. They live in grass huts with bamboo walls. We live in a concrete house. We need a little bit more as Americans transitioning to be there day after day after day. We've got a simple concrete house. It did have a grass roof on it until we had a typhoon here recently, and now it has a metal roof because the grass roof didn't survive.
Well, so how about the kids? What's life like? Are you guys involved with the ministry as well?
Yeah, we're pretty involved as a family in general. We have on Saturday we have a Bible study that's at the house, so obviously everyone's around and we're helping out, whether it be cooking or playing or taking pictures or whatever it may be on a Saturday afternoon with the youth. And during the week, if Dad has a project that he needs help with or needs us to do, we're here to do it with him. That's what we do as kids.
Awesome. Malachi is here with me, and he's my son. He's 12 years old. Malachi, do you have any questions for any of the kids?
What is each of your favorite thing about the Philippines?
Matt, do you want to start?
Sure. Mine is there's small stores there that aren't far away that don't cost much money, and there's some snack food that I like just walking to there and buying a snack.
How about you, Mark?
He took mine, but the second favorite is the weather being mainly sunny.
Yeah.
When we have the occasional storm, and that we are living by a beach, so you can go out to the beach, hang out there, swim, explore the tide pools. It's fun.
That's awesome. I love the ocean.
My favorite thing is the nature and the weather. I like
Okay.
to go up on my mountain bike and mountain bike in the mountains, and I like to do parkour on the beach and all sorts of fun things.
Yeah, I think we saw some pictures of you doing flips. I don't have them with me right now, but man, that was pretty cool.
Yeah,
Did you teach yourself that?
yeah, actually I did. I first learned all my flips on a trampoline, and I just transferred my practice from the trampoline onto the land.
My favorite thing would probably I have a lot of favorite things, but since I'm in the youth, I had the opportunity to share Bible lesson that I come up with myself, and I'm not any pastor, but I enjoy sharing what I got from the Bible in Milan to them.
That's awesome. Speaking of that, your family is there to spiritually feed a group of people, the Yadi people. But how are you guys as a family being spiritually fed? Maybe as kids, how are you guys being spiritually fed?
Well, for me personally, probably a lot of it has to do with online. We're thankful we live in a time in which we can do the type of video like this and just look up anything on YouTube and it
Right.
comes in 3 seconds and you can listen from anywhere from Francis Chan to my favorite Martin Luther King. Just listen to his preaching. But that's how I stay spiritually fed.
That's cool. How about anybody else?
Well, we all read the Bible daily, and we go to church weekly, and we just do all sorts of things to keep us connected with God.
That's cool.
We homeschool, and we always did homeschool even before we were missionaries. So that really helps. Devotions are part of school, part of daily life, and it helps us stay connected with where the kids are spiritually. We can go through some tough stuff. It's not easy being a missionary kid. They miss out on a lot of things, sports, friends, all the memorable things that people are mourning the loss of because of COVID-19, like, proms and graduations. Missionary kids, in a lot of cases, that's just part of the deal. Like they're missing out on those things. So we're really thankful to be able to homeschool and be able to stay connected to the kids, what's going on in their hearts, what's going on in their lives, and try and find ways to encourage them to seek out the things that they love, even when they're in a different culture, like Luke's parkour or John is a runner. He's a football player, and there's no football there, but he can run anywhere. So it's good that God's given each of the kids different abilities, and it's kind of our job as their parents to figure out what those are and cultivate them wherever we are in the world.
That's great. I know, Ezra, you had a question earlier about sports. Do you remember that question?
Do you guys play soccer?
I guess I'll take this. We will kick the ball around in our yard, which is mainly made up of dust, sand, and a few patches of grass. And there is a soccer field about 5 minutes from where we live that a school owns. And for some reason, we don't really go there much, mainly because school's usually in session until it's pretty hot out, and late.
Yeah.
So we do play some soccer, yeah.
Schools in the Philippines are really different. Like the schedule for the Filipino kids in public school, they go early in the morning and they're there till about 10:30, and then they walk home for lunch. And they have about 2 hours off at lunch, and then they walk back to the school and are there till 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And because we're so close to the equator, our days are very equal. It's only about 40 minutes different from summer solstice to winter solstice.
Whoa.
So we have a 13-hour day. So it's always dark by 6:30 in the evening. And actually, that's one of the tiny things that's been hard adjustment now coming into the long season in the States. Matthew was complaining that it's not fair that it gets dark and then I have to go to bed. Because in the Philippines, it's dark for a couple of hours before it's bedtime, even in summer.
Yeah, that's really unique. Speaking of unique, the Philippines are very different than in America, and you were describing some of how the homes are built. Can you describe that for us in the audience?
Well, in a community of mostly poor people, the houses are built simply so they're inexpensive, and they use a grass crop that grows up in the swampy area beside rivers and estuaries that they then um weave into shingles and then put on the top of their house, and the rest of their house is made of mostly up of bamboo and coconut wood. So simple houses, but they seem to work.
Yeah, we're looking at a picture right now. Kristen, you're with a lady in her house.
Yep.
You kind of see the roof there, and what a unique experience. Is your house built like that? You said you had concrete too, though.
Yeah, our walls are concrete, but up until the storm took our roof in December, we had a grass roof on our house, which is much cooler than a metal roof. And that's important because, like Mark said about the wonderful sun, we do have a predominant sun in the Philippines, but it is probably averages upper 80s year round and a very high humidity. So when you've got that sun beating down on a metal roof, there's
Yeah.
not insulation. And a house that has concrete walls and a metal roof almost needs to be insulated and air conditioned to be comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
So these simple houses with the bamboo, which lets air come in, and the grass roof, which doesn't get as hot, are much more comfortable in hot weather. Now they're not as dry in rainy season.
Mm-hmm.
So when the Ati visit us, they in the summertime when it's oppressively hot and you're just sweating in your house, they say, "Oh, Mom, you have a nice house for rainy season. This will be a great place to stay dry, but it kind of stinks as a place to stay cool."
Wow. So in that, you also mentioned you lost your roof in December. What? And explain that. And I understand that happened around Christmas, correct?
Yes, Matt's going to tell about that.
Yeah, tell us about that, man.
The short story is a couple days before Christmas, we were told that there will be a typhoon on Christmas.
Okay.
A level 1 typhoon, but it didn't stay that. But Christmas Eve, it was fine. There was a bit of rain. In the morning, I came out and saw Mark drinking hot chocolate. Everyone else got up in a couple minutes, like 20 minutes, the roof started blowing off. And me and Mark have a stuffed animal collection, and I wanted to bring them all in the car. But we had to put some in the oven because that was one of the only dry places.
That's a good idea.
Well, it's funny because you always make contingency plans as a missionary, and typhoons are very common in the Philippines. We don't get a direct hit very often, but we get significant rain and wind a couple of times a year. And I had in my mind, if we ever needed to emergency evacuate, I know where the important papers are. I know where these things are. But I didn't ever picture it happening while the roof was coming in on us. Like it was raining in my bedroom while I'm trying to gather the last of the electronics and get them someplace. And also it was dark because it was the middle of the day, but the power had gone out and it was stormy. So it was hard to see and it was raining and you don't expect an evacuation situation. When you picture an evacuation, you're picturing it on a bright sunny day, and that's not really how it goes down. So, but Mark, do you want to tell what we did once we left?
Well, we got in the car and our plan was to drive somewhere that was not directly hit, a larger city about 6 hours away. But we had probably gotten maybe a mile and there was already a downed electrical line. We had like a stalemate there for about 5 minutes on who was going to cross because there was a trike and then there was us. And he was too scared to go across it in case it was live. even though the power was out, we were still scared of it. And eventually we just drove across it, and we were heading towards starting at the very beginning of what would have been a 6-hour drive through the storm to Iloilo, the capital city in the island. And we decided about
2 minutes later.
2 minutes later that we couldn't get there. So we turned around and went to the village where the Ati live, and stayed there because they are on a hill, and they had like they have a concrete church, and then they had a concrete daycare and or preschool, sorry, and which would have worked as an evacuation area. So we drove there and hid from the storm there.
Wow. Merry Christmas, everybody, right?
That was part of it that was a little traumatic because, well, we had to walk up the hill in the middle of the storm, things blowing around.
Yeah.
And, everybody was congregated in the church, but it's open. It has open walls, and the wind was blowing so hard that the whole front of the whole back of the church, all the way to the stage, was getting wet. So they had put the newborn babies and anybody vulnerable in a little closet where we keep the Bibles to keep them dry. But of course, there was no power, so it was like hiding in a dark closet in the middle of a storm that's raging all outside around you. And John and Jared and Rusty went to go help other families in the village evacuate, to grab a couple things, maybe some clothes, a sack of rice or whatever, and come up because the houses were blowing down in the village.
Wow.
Like after the first part of the storm, before the eye, there was probably 40% of the houses had significant damage or flattened. And then the eye went through, and we had about 45 minutes or an hour of complete calm. The sun came out, and everybody kept saying, it's over. And I kept saying, I don't think it is, because it went right over top of us. And so when we got the second wave, the wind came the other direction, and it just finished off a lot of buildings and took roofs and flattened houses. And so we spent all of January and part of February helping the tribe rebuild their houses, getting new roofs. And
a lot of the tribe put metal roofs on because the NEPA does well for keeping the temperature or keeping the rain out and keeping your house cool, but it doesn't fare well in a storm like this. So when they needed roofing, a lot of them went to galvanized roof, and we bought over 1,000 pieces.
Wow.
Roofing material that we distributed to help about 140 houses put roofs on.
Wow. You guys have made a quick video about helping after the storm, and I'd like to show that video right now. Ezra, can you run that video? Do you know where that is?
On Christmas Day 2019, a powerful typhoon blasted through our area of the Philippines, damaging or destroying nearly every home in the Ati community. Before the storm was even over, a generous U.S. church sent a gift to New International to help us rebuild. In the weeks that followed, we were able to help more than 160 families repair their storm-damaged homes. The local Ati church sprang into action, sharing hope and love and lots of roofing materials in the Ati community. We were able to also completely rebuild 5 homes for senior citizens, widows, or the disabled, and to repair 2 church roofs. Thanks to God's provision through many generous donors, we could be a light for the gospel and a practical help during a dark time. We want to say thank you.
Sa Ginoo, salamat anday sira today. Agin gamit at Ginoo, agin poobrahan gamit bago nga balay.
Salamat sa nagbulig sa akon nga balay.
So that video really showed the impact of what you guys are doing down there. You got to see a lot of the habitat. You guys are helping. How did that, helping people out really, solidify your calling there in the Philippines? What your ministry is like?
Well, our work there, the Ati people are an indigenous people in the Philippines. They used, just like the American Indians, they used to have this whole island that we live on to their own. But unlike the American Indians that lost their land 200 years ago, the Ati people have just lost their land in the last generation. Since probably the 60s, 70s, our area has been populated by other Filipinos coming in. And so they used to live there simply, and they were hunters and gatherers, but because they've lost their land, they don't have that ability anymore. So we come from an agricultural background. We're dairy farmers by trade. And so we have a good understanding of agriculture, and we've used that as a way to teach them to garden, to raise animals. We've had feeder pig operation. John is working with goats, using layer hens, because a chicken is a great tool that can be used to make money and to feed a family. Yep. Those are the kind of things that we do, and just general community development, water and things like that. Now, this storm, of course, took out everybody's house at one time, and I wasn't even sure what we would do. Of course, we'd help with the physical cleanup, but the Lord provided even before the storm was over. We had shared as we were leaving quickly on Facebook. Pray for us. We're trying to get away from this storm. And before the power and the internet came back on, we had a donor make a large gift, just tagged for rebuilding, and we had no idea that we were going to get into the scale of things, but we spent in the neighborhood of $30,000 helping with cleanup after this.
Wow.
In money that the Lord provided for this cleanup project.
What a difference that made.
Yeah. So it gave us, being working in the community for 8 years, we'd had touches in there are 1,000 people, 160 to 80 families, and of course they all know of us, and we work closely probably with 40 or 50 of those families, but it gave us opportunity to show the love of Christ to every household in the 5 villages that the Ati live in.
That's and what you guys have done down there is incredible. And I've seen some pictures. Ezra, can you show their website? I can't remember exactly what it's called. It's that one right there. Nope, not that one. There we go. We love because. And I think you can see from there, and then on your Facebook page as well, a lot of pictures of the chickens, the gardens, and all that stuff. It's really incredible what you guys have done to really built a community there that people, like you said, are using and building up, and being able to go to the marketplace and have a living wage and everything like that. You guys are really impacting the Ati people in a very powerful way. I didn't know that their land was taken from them. That was a bit of information I had no idea. How are you guys looked at in the community? I know you've been there, you said 8 years. Was it tough to start there? Were they hesitant to welcome you in, or were they very open for you and your family?
The Filipino people in general and the Ati, the same, are very welcoming people. Now,
friendly culture.
Yeah, that's one thing that anybody that spends any amount of time in the Philippines will say, that the people are so friendly. Now, and in general, trusting. It has taken some time to get into people's lives and to understand, more, and for them to open up to us, and that has come over the years, and quickly, without getting into a big part, but two of the biggest challenges there are alcoholism and teen parenthood, and the reality of it is that before I came to the Lord, I was both an alcoholic and a teen parent. And, so we have some unique insight into some of their biggest challenges there. And that has given us a way to minister to them in ways that maybe others have not or are not able to. So we can come alongside them with an understanding of life, its challenges, our sin nature, and things in ways that other people aren't able to. So I think the Lord has gifted us, or actually taken our sins and turned them to His glory.
That's great. Again, a unique opportunity. You come from that background. You really can speak life into people who are going through that. Now, to kind of switch gears a little bit, we're going to ask the kids a few more questions. Malika, do you have another question you want to ask the kids?
Tell us about raising a goat that lived in your bathroom.
So, just with the story about the storm, as the storm happened, not only was our house roofless for about 3 or 4 days, our everything else was pretty wet. But my goats, I have four, two mothers. They both had within a week of the storm. So not had kids not within a week of a storm of the storm, and then we had them on a mountain tract of land there. But I decided, sort of an executive order of myself, that I was going to bring them down and take care of myself. So I brought them home and sort of put them wherever they fit. At the time being, I think the night we brought them home, we didn't have a complete roof yet. Just have to, so we sort of saved them to our bad situation. But but over the course of the month and a half after that, we raised them up and bottle fed them through in the bathroom. But interesting experiences that
We call John the goat whisperer. The goats trained out on the mountain. They're just out on a huge tract of land, and they're grazing and doing what goats do. And he calls them, and they come running. And
wow, that's cool.
He comes down, and he was hand milking the goats. John's long-term vision would be to create a little micro enterprise with dairy goats there. There's really not much of a dairy industry in the Philippines at all. But there are goats around. People usually kind of use them as lawn mowers and a little bit for meat goats. But we would like to see the opportunity, since it doesn't take as much land or feed to raise dairy goats as it would, say, a Holstein or a Jersey cow. Ability to milk the goats, have goat milk available, make goat cheese. John's been playing around with a bunch of different recipes for making goat cheese at home.
Wow, that's cool.
The byproduct of having the goat's milk was hand raising the kids in the bathroom, and they'd be hilarious. You'd open the door to let them out, and they'd trumps around the house. And as they got bigger, they would do tricks and jump. And it was actually a lot of positive entertainment in a otherwise kind of stressful time. They brought a lot of joy.
So, how did that impact the rest of you kids? Raising a goat in the bathroom, did that impact you guys at all?
Overall, it was pretty fun. They were absolutely adorable.
Aww.
And hand feeding them was fun. Watching them run around, kick their legs in the air like they're crazy was fun.
Well,
it's not the first time we had something in the bathroom. Luke, do you want to tell about the time we had baby pigs in our bathroom?
Yeah, we had baby pigs in our bathroom like 3 years ago. For a couple months. There was about 5 of them, and so we had to bottle feed them all too.
Oh, cool!
That was in a complete different house. But with the goats, we actually in the house that we currently live in, we have 2 bathrooms. One that doesn't work, which is where we had the baby goats, and then we have our own bathroom. So they weren't like in our actual bathroom, but they were in one of our bathrooms.
And the pigs that we raised, we had a shower room and then a bathroom. The pigs were in the shower room.
Now, when it was time for a shower, you needed to take the pigs out of the room, clean the room, and then you could take a shower.
It accomplished 2 things. Then the pig room got clean every time somebody needed a shower.
Boy, that's missionary life right there, guys. That's awesome.
So often you need a shower, twice a day.
All right, Ezra's got a question for us, or for you guys. Ezra, you want to ask the question? No. Let's see. This one.
What do you want to be when you grow up?
There you go.
I would like to be a counselor or therapist.
Wow, that's cool.
I hopefully want to be a businessman, but I have a bunch of backup jobs waiting.
Oh yeah, like what?
Pizza, pizza shop,
Cool.
burrito shop.
I love it. You like food? I take it.
Yeah.
Fireman.
Wow, that's awesome.
Um, and like maybe working at a zoo. That was work's first, but I just had a bunch of backup jobs.
Okay.
We're all animal lovers.
That's
How
cool.
about you?
I want to be a police officer.
Very cool.
I think I'm.
Do they have training grounds there where you are for that type of stuff, or do you want to do that in America, or do you want to go back to the Philippines?
I think you'll probably end up being in America.
Okay.
I think I'll probably be in some sort of agriculture, but
Yeah. Very cool. We got just a few more minutes. Do you guys have any questions for my kids? We didn't really talk about that, but do you have any questions for my kids?
what's it like to be in all these videos on TV so much?
I'm not really on. I'm not really on TV that much. I'm just hidden behind the things, doing the thing.
Yeah, so Ezra is behind the scenes a lot, doing some really cool things. In fact, I can take my camera and we can kind of show what he does. Let's see here. Is this on? There we go.
Nice.
So you can kind of see you guys there. We got a microphone there. And boy, I can't even find it. There he is. He's on the switcher there. All right. So, yeah, that's kind of what he does. He's the switcher guy. So, yeah.
One thing that we love about New International is that there are lots of different ways to be a missionary.
Oh, yeah. Isn't that cool?
People wouldn't think that media is a missionary job, but, part of the reason that NI is such a great organization for missionaries is because they have a low administrative fee, and that's because everybody on staff is a missionary.
Yep.
So you guys are missionaries, and we were so blessed earlier this year. We had 2 from the media team come in February, and all the pictures that you guys have been watching during this are all pictures that they took for us, because it's really hard when you're doing ministry to have a camera out. We're trying to build trust and relationships with people, and a camera just gets in the way of that. But when you have somebody over who A, is skilled in that area and has nice equipment, and B, that's their job, it's such a blessing. And, NI missionaries are all different kinds, ones that are living with tribes to people who are doing business as mission. And, I think that's the takeaway, for our viewers. Like, you may not think of yourself as a missionary in the traditional sense of the word, but there are lots of ways that God can use you in his kingdom and to further the gospel around the world.
Yeah, one of New International's slogans is, what is God calling you to do? Yeah. And really, that's a question we have to ask all of ourselves. What is God specifically calling you to do? And does that align with New International? Does that align with the Word of God? And has God given you that vision to accomplish that? And if he has, he's going to provide for you. He's going to send you. He's going to bring the resources to accomplish that vision and task. And yeah, they've been such a great help. I know our president is really on board with helping each missionary out. Very encouraging. We do New International staff devos once a week. I know my team, the media team, meets once a week. We do small devotions as well. And what a great community of people. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this, start this interview stuff, because we're all over the world, and if we don't do stuff like this, it's hard to know each other. And so, what an opportunity that now I get to know the Russell family, and you get to know the Dyer family, and then those that are watching can know both of us better, and our audiences can know us better. And it's just what a privilege it is, and to get to know and see what you guys are doing with the Yachty people, and that you are impacting their community. You're impacting individuals. You're providing resources. You're providing discipleship, and you're reaching people for Christ. And you're making a world of difference to them. And I'm excited to know you guys now, and I'm excited to call you guys my friends. And hey, before we leave, is there anything else you would like to share with those that are watching?
Well, we just love that you would pray for the Ati people in the Philippines. We left a big burden of work with our Ati pastor, Pastor Janelle. He has picked up the slack for what the three of us are doing. They continue to do ag things as best as they're able. Janelle continues to do medical things when there's a crisis in the community. We just had a tribal member pass this week, and so there'll be services that he'll be leading throughout the week. And the situation there with the COVID is a little different than here. We don't have any confirmed cases right where we are, but and it's helpful for lockdown things because we're an island nation and they can kind of cordon things off. But just like here in the United States, economically being shut down for a period of time is devastating to a country that is in a developing world situation. And so they're starting to open things back up a little bit, but there's some concerns that could bring virus from other islands. And so we're just asking that God would continue to protect them. There's not really good infrastructure there. Our hospital system would be overwhelmed very, very quickly. And so we're just asking for God's hand of protection on the tribe. And so we're able to get back with them and also just pray that we would have the patience to continue to serve him in the capacity that he gives us. We're doing a lot of things online with people. I spent 4 hours this morning talking to different ones in the tribe, counseling some different things.
Wow.
It's very different than what our ordinary ministry is, but we're thankful that, even people that live in a tribal setting have the ability to have Facebook and Facebook Messenger in the Philippines because the service provides it for free. So what a blessing for us to be able to still stay connected when we're far apart.
That's cool.
And, we want to get back there as soon as we're legally allowed to.
Is there a time frame you guys have, or just no way to know right now?
It looks like the government's going to hold it off until probably at least September, but they're putting no dates on things at this point. So, Lord willing, we will be back shortly after September, but we don't have any control over that. And I guess in some ways that's comforting to know that we just have to wait on him to do what he's going to do within the government. It was a tough time for a month to try to get that through your heart that, this is a situation you really have no control over. The only thing we can do is minister the best to the people there through the opportunities that we have, and then to find things. We're working here in Sebring with food distribution through some food banks, and we've worked. Actually, John and I this morning spent 2 hours working in a church that provides the housing for the food bank. They needed some help with a construction project, so
that's awesome.
This morning helping with that. So we're just open to serving the Lord wherever we are, and I think that anybody that wants to serve, if you just open your heart, the Lord will provide the ways for you to get plugged into what He's doing all over the world.
Yep. Yeah, I find since I've only been a missionary for a little less than a year, and I've been learning that if you just say yes, it's amazing what kind of doors will open.
Yeah,
and there's a lot of need out there. So if you're just willing, you can make a big difference.
Yeah,
amen. That's true.
All right, guys, thank you so much for joining us. It's such a cool way to hear about you and your family. You're all been impacted by this being a missionary kid, and thank you guys for serving in the Philippines and serving where you are in Florida. Godspeed with you getting back. And boys, do you have anything to say? No? Okay. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye, guys.